Okay. Hi, everyone that is joining us tonight for our third episode of Chippy Chicks Hockey Happy Hour. So tonight, our topic, it's going to be a little bit different tonight. We felt like since it's the holidays and since our last two topics were kind of a little heavy on some of the things we were talking about, we wanted to do something a little bit more fun. So the first topic we're going to talk about is, are there real life incidents that inspire our books, especially our hockey books, since we're all hockey romance writers? I know I have a couple, but Mel, do you want to start? Do you have any that you've put in your books?
Yeah, totally. Like I got my start as a hockey romance writer by writing fanfic. So actually my first two books, Hockey is My Boyfriend and How the Cookie Crumbles, were actually started out as fanfic. We used to like have this community where we posted every night and commented on each other's stuff. And it was all about real hockey players. So I had to change it when I published it so as not to get sued or whatever. But those books definitely, but I thought it was really obvious, but I've had people like guess and be totally wrong. So I guess it wasn't as obvious as I thought. Anyway, but my series that I wrote, Vancouver Vice, I can see it there. The Vancouver Vice hockey series is all about a hockey team in Vancouver. And like a lot of fans, it came to me because I was really frustrated with the general manager, Jim Benning, who was not, well, I'm not going to say anything about him because he's gone now, yay. And so I just thought I would write it out this way by writing a hockey team that wasn't doing very well, and then slowly, book by book, improving things. I think Danica is with me on this because she wrote something similar about her Philadelphia team. So you're frustrated and you take it out by writing these things. So in the first one, it's a hockey player that comes to a team that's highly dysfunctional, and there's like bullying and cliques in the room, and the coach is always yelling at them. And so then slowly, book by book, the next book, they change the management and they improve the management. And the third book is about coaching. So it's called Second Round, and they get a new coach. And I have to say one thing, like I thought if you got a new coach, it would take, at least a season for them to have an effect. But my real life story in Vancouver is, since we got Bruce Boudreau, they went from losing to winning six games in a row. Like if I wrote that, nobody would believe it. They'd be like, that's total fiction. That could never happen. So to me, that's like maybe a happy ending. I guess we could be even exaggerate things even more. So lots of incidents in my book come from little incidents, like I've got an emergency backup goaltender that does really well, things like that, just inspired that way. But the whole thrust was just hoping for a better team. And that was the only way I could make it happen, was fictionally.
Stacey, what about you? Do you have any that you've written into any of your books?
So, but like you and Mel, my first short in the Going All In anthology was absolutely inspired by Awful Coach and his relationship with a player who seemed to be, how shall we put this, in the headlines all of the time for reasons that really had very little to do with hockey. But there was a point in the playoffs that one year where this particular player had surgery, and like basically like you realize that in essence this coach who was being awful was treating this player worse than he deserved. And like we knew this anyway, but like at the time, and so I wrote a story that fixed that ending so that the coach would have to pay for his behavior. But my favorite story that I'm actually going to play with, hopefully, in the next couple of years, I'll talk about later when we talk about holiday celebrations and teams, because this is a really cool story that I love that I've wanted to write about for a while.
Cool. I think I know who those people are. You're being really what about you, Kelly?
Oh my gosh, how much time do we have? I could talk about this for the next hour. So, because I have tons of hockey books, and lots of them, like Mal said, like lots of them are just little things that inspire little things in the books. So like my Heller brothers were inspired by the Stahl brothers. I just, not any of them individually, but I just like the idea of 4 brothers who all played in the NHL. So I wrote the 4 Heller brothers. And then in that first book in that series, the idea for that story came from what actually happened. And it's not hockey sports. It's Tom Brady and Bridget Moynihan and Gisele Bündchen. And I don't know if you guys know that. Mm-hmm. It was a long time ago, but where he breaks up with Bridget Moynihan and you know, he's with another woman when Bridget gets pregnant or discovers that she's pregnant. She was already pregnant, obviously. And so that's what kind of where that story came from. And then what else was there? The Face Off in that series came from, it was like Mel said, it was like a fantasy that I was writing to make it come true, because it didn't seem to be coming true. We wanted an NHL team back in Winnipeg so bad. And there was always rumors about, you know, maybe this team's up for sale, maybe this team's up for sale, maybe we're going to get a new team. And so I wrote this story where they bought a team and brought it back to Winnipeg, and they called it the Jets. And then a few months after I wrote it, it actually happened. So that was fulfilling my fantasy was that story. And then let's see, in the last book in that series, Honey Holbrook, who is Matt Heller's love interest, is loosely based on Paulina Gretzky.
Ooh, I can see that now that you say that.
Yeah. And then little things like playing hurt. The way I thought it was a super cute, meet cute. Again, it wasn't a hockey sport, but it was about a tennis player, Eugenie Bouchard. She's a Canadian tennis player. Apparently, she was tweeting about the Super Bowl, and some fan of hers made a bet with her about the Super Bowl. Hang on, I'm going to mute myself so I can cough. Sorry, I had a tickle in my throat. So she lost the bet and went on a date with him. And I thought, that is so cute, right? It didn't work out for them. They didn't end up together, but that's what happened in Playing Hurt, where she's watching a hockey game she's tweeting about it. And the hero of the story is also seeing her tweets, and they make a bet and end up having to go on a date together. The biggest idea that I took from real life kind of is that my Bears hockey series, and anybody who's read that will know that it was very, again, loosely based on the Humboldt Broncos and the bus crash that they had back in, when was that, 2018, I think.
Yeah.
I didn't want it to be dark and depressing, but I did want to explore like what happens to some of those guys after they go through something like that. And I know not all of the stories, I mean, for sure there were deaths involved, and some of the players that were injured have not had happy endings to their stories. Some of them are still working on it. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to have 3 guys who'd been through that terrible tragedy together and kind of figure out, you know, how their happy ending came about for them. So that's kind of one of the bigger ones that I've taken from real life.
What about you, Fortune?
I feel like mine is a little bit kind of like my connection with the Flames is a little bit different. Like just the industry I worked in and kind of like the time, just like the time of when everything happened with like the 04-05 stuff. The Flames were very connected to the community. And also like with the job I had, like my boss's daughter was best friends with Shea Weber's girlfriend at the time, and he like flew them down to where they played to, like, so they wouldn't be lonely. So they wouldn't be lonely. And so I feel like it was really a lot of my stories are kind of that Cinderella, like rags to riches. You know, that's like, I don't know if it's like every Canadian girl's dream to like marry a hockey player, but it's like, it's just like so close to touch. Like, I'm 40 now, but I was 20 then. And I have lots of friends, like we go out, we have pictures at the clubs with all the players, just like, it was just like insane. Like I taught yoga to the Flames organization one time, like in the arena, like it's just, so nothing I can say out loud in public to people, but yeah, it's definitely loosely based on real events.
So I have a couple things, and I think most, and I've tweeted about this, and my editor got really mad at me because they're also from Philly. And I tweeted like when I think the Flyers lost like 8-0 to the Rangers last season. And I tweeted something about how like, this is why I wrote a fake Philly hockey team that sucks. And like my editor was like, this is so rude. Why did you tweet this? And I'm like, it's true. There's definitely like little things, like TJ and his sister Roxanne are Desjardins, and like my editor immediately when they did the second book and like they're mentioned, they were like Eric, and I was like, yeah, because Lindros would be too obvious. Like I couldn't name them Lindros and Leclerc. Like so I've done like little things like that. That I think like some people will pick up on, like our goaltender being really young too, like that probably. I think the most thing I put in, and it's not a book that I'm going to publish, because this was back when I was writing YA. The first book I like wrote that had hockey in it was a YA hockey book. And it's interesting, Kelly, that you talked about the stalls, because I kind of was picturing the stalls. It was like this girl who her dad played for the Philly team and she had 5 brothers, and like, but she was like the most into hockey. But that came about because like I was in college, I was in my creative writing class, and I was like trying to think of something to write. And I started thinking about like, what would my life be like if Chris Pronger was my dad? So like, and then I wrote a second book to that was like going to be like a YA like standalone, kind of like how Sarah Dozen and like Stephanie Perkins has like a 3-book series like that. I was like kind of trying to do that. And that girl's dad, like she didn't have a relationship with her dad because he had a really bad injury. It was straight up Chris Pronger's injury. And like, so like I don't think I'm publishing them, but I am bringing that hockey dynasty fantasy into my Bulldog series. So like, I'm bringing them back in, but like, I'm like, this is definitely like, this is Chris Pronger's injury. You can't. So that was the most thing I did, is like a lot when I was like starting and like still trying to figure out what type of writer I wanted to be, because those books are completely different than what I'm writing now, because they were YA. So, and they were a totally different tone. But yeah, I think I do little things. Like I don't do like major things now.
Fortune,
Yeah.
you taught yoga to the Flames?
Yeah, I've also taught yoga to like the Canadian men's curling team. Yeah, I've had weird, strange experiences with athletes, and I think it's just because of my proximity to them, because of like my corporate job before I did yoga. So again, I'd love to talk about it, but maybe if you ever read my book, you might be able to like pick up on something.
It's a tease.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's very cool. I wrote a book about a yoga instructor who ended up teaching yoga to the team. I didn't know you then.
Did he say they were terribly inflexible?
Yeah.
And they wore the wrong shorts, things like that.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that was the water yoga, right?
Yes.
And like he kept falling.
Yeah. She did yoga on a paddleboard. The dude's trying to impress her. And he keeps falling in the water.
I love that. That's awesome.
I think it's good, Kelly, that you wrote something that you wanted to happen and it came true. Because when I wrote fanfic, I used to always have the Canucks winning the Stanley Cup, and all my readers were like laughing at me. They're like, "It's never going to happen, Mel."
We can make
That's like
things
that.
happen.
Exactly. Like,
It's not not the Flyers. Like I can do what I want with this team. Like I can do what I want. Like I know, like I hate that like the Flyers like training facility isn't even in Pennsylvania. It's in South Jersey. And I hate that. So I was like, their training facility is gonna be on the main line. That makes more sense to me. And like I'm really surprised people haven't like gotten mad at me about that because I want to be like, they're not the Flyers.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Well,
I
actually,
did.
yeah.
You know, Mel, in
Yeah.
my book, Clark plays for the team in Vancouver, who's not named, but he's won like 5 cups with this team. Just if you want to add that to your
Like yeah, we can have our wish fulfillment with that. I actually I put a team name and I called them the Thrashers, and it was definitely a homage to the Atlanta Thrashers, who don't exist anymore, who are now the Winnipeg Jets. But they were Carolina, so it wasn't like the real team name. So I'm like, I'll just put that in as like a little thing if like people pick it up. And it's just going to be a line in my next book that was like, oh, they were playing the Carolina Thrashers and the DC Senators or whatever I called it are like playing and they're watching the game. But like that's like a little thing that I think some like hockey romance readers are probably not going to pick up on that sort of stuff, but like people who are also hockey fans might be like, oh, like that. So I like to do stuff like that too.
Well, actually, I did write something that came true. Is when I started my series, I had like the NHL team in Vancouver and their AHL farm team was in Vancouver, because I thought, why is our farm team in New York? Like we could never call anybody up. There was all these issues. And so this season, the Canucks farm team is not at the arena I had them playing at. They're out in the valley in Abbotsford, but they're in the city. And it's like, it makes a huge difference. I mean, it's a lot more efficient. So.
Yes.
definitely.
Yeah, it's the Flyers. We used to have 2 arenas because we had the Old Spectrum and then the Wells Fargo Center. But so the Phantoms used to play next door. So they were in Philly and then they tore the Spectrum down and they moved them to upstate New York. But now they're back in a closer area. They're like in Lehigh Valley. So they're like an hour away from Philly. So it's not a huge difference now, but it was kind of weird for them to be so far out, like in Adirondack. Like it's kind of weird, but not like too far, but like it's kind of weird.
Yeah, the Flames farm team was out in upstate New York for a while. Like they moved it to Stockton now, but yeah, they were far. I think they were the Adirondack Flames, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No,
Well, that's because all the Pacific teams moved except Vancouver. So suddenly everybody was like California or like around here, and then except us. So it was even worse then.
no, we've always been in Hartford. So like once, like they were elsewhere. I think they were in Charlotte too, but I think like once, like in the last however many years, the Rangers farm team has been in Hartford and the Islanders have been in Bridgeport. So it's been this really interesting sort of cross like state rivalry, both in New York and in Connecticut. But
they couldn't have been in Hartford when there was a team in Hartford.
No, exactly. I want to. That's when they were in Charlotte.
Oh,
That's
okay.
when they were the Checkers, and it made no sense because again, like far. And
Yeah,
like having them in Hartford is like commuting distance away. So it's, the joke is that a player named Greg McKegg was basically like, he had his, Metro North commuter pass because he was like going back and forth between like Hartford and that was the joke in the fandom, that he was constantly going back and forth between Hartford and the Rangers.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, okay, give him a pass already for freaking Haiti's sake if that's what you're going to do to this guy. But I did actually give myself wish fulfillment on 2 levels. I actually wrote, like in the second anthology, Icing the Puck is actually set around a Winter Classic at one of the baseball stadiums in New York. Not the one in the Bronx, but the one in Queens, because Isabel Kelly is a huge fan of the team that plays in Queens. And so like that was the stadium that we knew better. And so we wrote that anthology around a winter game that took place at the baseball stadium in Queens where the Empires were playing. And sure enough, not very long after that, the Rangers got a Winter Classic at Citi Field, which was fantastic. My favorite band, which did in fact one of my favorite bands, which did in fact reunite after I wrote about them reuniting in the book, did not in fact play the Winter Classic, but they still reunited, so that was amazing.
Another success.
Exactly. Oh gosh.
That's awesome.
We can dream. So I know I can because my team is not doing well.
We're all dreaming.
Yeah, it's really bad. Okay, so the other thing we wanted to talk about is just funny things that have been happening around the league. We have a couple visuals, so I want to pull them up. So I'm going to share my screen and hopefully I do this right. Okay, so Ben Bishop had to retire because of injury. So Texas fans came and dressed up like bishops. So this is a gift that Mel had shared with me. So it goes a little fast, but you get the gist there. So that is kind of a funny thing. The other thing is Kale for Kale. This makes me laugh. And like, I don't know if I made this up, but I think like when he was a rookie, I think he like went back to the college he was at because they were playing in the Frozen Four. And I remember like, this is a thing that people do for him. Like they were like shaking Kale like pom-poms.
Okay, somebody has to tell me the story of who Kale is because I don't know this one.
So he plays for the Avalanche. His name is Kale McCarr. So it's just Kale.
It's spelled with a C. It's actually spelled with a C. It's not
spelled with a
like
C.
a vegetable.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just fun. It's just like a fun thing. I remember it because I think that Wish was talking about it when the ESPN on Ice podcast that I had with Emily Kaplan. They don't have it anymore, but I did really like that podcast, and I'm pretty sure they talked about it on that podcast. So the other thing,
so they're just cheering him on with Kale.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did see some people throwing Kale on the ice, and there was a joke about Nathan McKinnon picking it up for salad later.
And making his teammates eat it.
Yeah. Oh, there was a bunch of stuff like I think that during the off season about how like he's like no carbs, no sugar.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think Nathan McKinnon is like pretty close with Sidney Crosby, so I think they both have like kind of strict like regimens.
Yeah.
So I kind of get like why he's so serious. But it's just funny. That's a funny thing. And then
I remember reading that the bishops were actually inspired by the traveling Yoggers. And it's been for a while, so they like came out, I guess, to sort of honor him on his retirement, but they were inspired by the traveling Yoggers. And of course,
that was good too.
Yes, like, and of course for me, I can't see bishops without thinking of the Church of Kako, which was a thing that happened during the season where Kako was drafted. It was started by a guy by the name of Ryan Mead and the rest of the group from Blue Shirts Breakaway. This man has actually shown up at Ranger games dressed as a pope, because and he is the Kako Pope, and it's sort of this wonderful thing that sort of happens. With everybody has like every fandom has something. Like I remember the green men from the Canucks standing by like the penalty box, and the what is it? And the astronauts, I think from Tampa, standing by the like every team has it, and the Church of Kako is one of the Rangers ones. It's just a really fun thing, like the sort of catchphrase for it. Like it was started as a joke, and they were gonna who knows what was going to happen. But then when Kako came to New York for the first time, he saw it. I think Ryan Mead actually showed up dressed as Pope for that, and Kako just burst out laughing, and it was the best thing. And it was the first time like he was relaxed in front of the camera, and so they've been at it ever since then, and it's wonderful and it's so much fun.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Back when Mika Kippersoff used to play, I don't think they ever showed him on TV, but there was like a little kid that used to stand in the stands dressed like Kippersoff, and during the warm-ups, he would like copy everything he did. It was incredible. I love stuff like that.
So funny. I like to see like to make hockey fun, because I do think like sometimes hockey can be like so set in their ways and so old school. So when we see the fans like making it more fun and like bringing more fans in, I like it. So I like to see that sort of things. So something that's not really fun, but I think is funny, is that the Flyers just like had a meltdown on, like the Flyers fans had like a meltdown on Twitter. And so people started this hashtag, and this is a collage of things I found, called Broad Street Bag, where this is a real photo of a fan from like 2013. And I don't know what happened, but this was like strictly Twitter. People on Twitter that are Flyers fans started all changing their profile picture. This is this guy. Our team is doing so bad. And then this is like an actual picture where one time we had like 5 guys in the penalty box and someone put like all the bags on it. And then, like,
I'm sure that's not a first for Philly.
Yeah.
it just made me laugh because like everything on my timeline was like, we're bags now? What is happening?
I like his little unhappy face.
Before or after they fired the coach?
Yeah, so this happened like, so we fired Elaine Vigneault.
Yes.
He got
Stop it,
fired, but
Stacey.
also our power play coach that people have been like calling forever to get got fired as well. So we just have an interim coach right now. But it doesn't seem like too much has really improved.
I remember the 8-0 game that the Rangers won.
Yeah.
My hope for you is that your team gets an 8-0 game over wherever he ends up.
I don't know.
That's what I hope for you, Danica. I hope the Flyers get an 8-0 game over AV in his next stop, because that's what it was. It was like the Rangers, like, granted, thankfully we got rid of David Quinn too, because he had ended up his tenure, but it was that 8-0 game was like all of the sort of like built up angriness of like the chewing gum dude standing on the bench indifferently. And, like,
Yeah.
It was awful. And I remember like talking to some Flyers fans that I know right around the time where he got hired. I was like, you have my condolences. I'm like, I hope he treats you guys better, but you have all of my condolences.
Stacey and I never agree about this. I think AV's a good coach. I was sad when he left here, but I mean, it just seems like, do you think you're going to get a new coach, Danica?
I don't think this season. I think Mike Yao will be the coach for the rest of the season. This is what happened before we got AV. Like, they fired the coach and then they had the interim coach for a while. And I'm interested to see what happens, because Ian LaPerriere is like the coach for the AHL team, and he's an ex-Flyer. And like, I saw him, like, he was an assistant coach, and then he became the head coach for the Phantoms. So I don't know if like that, like they might, I don't think he'd be a good head coach though. I loved him as a player, but I just don't know. And I don't really follow our AHL team all that much. So like, I don't really know how he's doing there. I think they will stick with the interim just for the rest of the season, and then probably make a decision, because we've been through a lot of coaches. Because we had Haskell for like a season and then he got fired. And then we had I think it was Gomez who was the interim, and then we got AV. I don't know. And a lot of Flyers fans are like, we should trade Giroux, not because we don't want him on the team anymore. It's just like, he doesn't deserve to be on this team anymore, and like, let him go get a cup. But I don't know if he wants to leave though. I mean, so I don't know. So that happened. So that's the state of Fly era. That's what we call it on Twitter. It's not great. But it was funny to see all the memes that people were making to like make light of how
That's hilarious.
Those are like really good ones I found. There were so many.
I think
I was like, let
they
me
did
just
that
find
for
it.
the Leafs too, eh? They had the fans with the bags on their head for a while.
Did they? Oh my God.
I think
Not
it's a common
recently.
thing.
Not
Like
right.
it's not like it's definitely happened before. So Mel, do you want to talk about your good news for your team?
Yeah. Good news for the Canucks is always bad news for my writing, because then I start watching games again. they were playing this like style of hockey which you couldn't even bear to watch, because like, you know, when it's completely defensive and it's not exciting at all, and it's just like really bad, then you're thinking, God, like I can't even watch this. So I mean, it's just almost miraculous. You wouldn't think it. I guess it's positivity and feeling good about themselves. But I think when you change coaches, you tend to go from one to the other. So Travis Green, who I think was a good coach, but now I'm wondering, was a very detail-oriented coach. He had a way of playing. He felt like defensively they had to play a certain way. And he's the kind of coach that if you went into the third period with a 1-goal lead, you know, when they do that collapsing thing and you're like, I don't think we should do this. And then sure enough, the other team scores on you. It's that kind of style. But it's hard to know. I guess you can't tell until the coach gets another assignment if they were, how good they were. But anyway, Bruce Boudreau came in and he was like, people are comparing him to Santa Claus because he's so jolly and everyone's happy now. And he sounded like he was really happy to coach again, that he had been wanting to coach. And I guess they talked to him a couple of weeks before and he started watching the team. Because as one commentator said, who would watch the Canucks unless you had to, like at that point, because they were so bad. So anyway, he came in and then the first game they won, and players that had been underperforming, like Brock Besser, suddenly have been like scoring almost every game. He switched the lines around and he switched something for the, like our penalty kill was like, so apparently the worst in 40 years of NHL stats keeping. It had been so bad. Like as soon as we took a penalty, you thought, oh, the other team's going to score. Like it was awful. And so anyway, he just made, it's almost like, you know, a feel-good movie where he's getting everybody involved and making, and so everybody's playing. It's not like one person's only playing 2 minutes, like everybody's playing, you know, at least 10 minutes. And it's hard because when you win, of course, you don't have to do all the things as when you lose or when you're losing and you have to change up things, but he's kept lines, he's created new lines, kept them together. And the biggest thing watching is that the players are smiling, like they're having a good time. Like before, the last game before Jim Benning and Travis Green got fired, it was like a loss. And the whole arena was chanting fire Benning, and somebody threw their jersey onto the ice. It was a game against the Penguins. And like when everyone was booing, like the coach left and all the guys were just sitting on the bench and they look so sad. Like really, they just look like, you know, here we are in our home arena. Everyone's booing and, you know, what do we do? Like we feel helpless too. We're trying, but we can't get anything going. And so after that, like they came out and they were, you know, just happy. And I heard Bruce Boudreau being interviewed on the Jeff Merrick show, and he actually made me cry because he was saying that the owner, who's you know, very rich, sent his private plane and he says, we need you today. And so he says to his wife, whose name is Crystal, he says, Crystal, we got to pack, we got to go. And then he said, we're sitting in this private plane, which, you know, only Hollywood stars get to do. And I looked over at Crystal, I said, can you believe this? Like, I love to coach, it's all I want to do. And we're getting to ride in a private plane and do all these things. And he just sounded adorable, like, you know, some hick in the big city. And I just thought, oh, that's so sweet. Anyway, so that's the good part. I mean, I don't know anything about Jim Rutherford. Currently, he's hired only one person. It seems to be someone he knows, but I have heard rumors that he might hire a woman as the assistant GM. So I would think that would be a great step, just to have some diversity in the management and hopefully good communication. So we'll see what happens there. But anyway, things are way better than they were just 10 days ago.
That's so good to hear.
Yeah. You've had some changes too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good segue.
Sorry.
So our coach resigned on Friday. Was that Friday morning that happened? I think.
Yeah. Shocking.
And it was and it wasn't. Like, honestly, I feel like this has been in the works for a long time. And I don't know if like the ownership of the Jets and the management, they have a reputation as being very loyal people, which is great. But I kind of wonder if they were a little too loyal to Paul Maurice for a little too long. I don't know. I kind of thought the writing was on the wall even a couple of seasons ago and it didn't happen. But I never wanted to be one of those people that's like, oh, they're losing, fire the coach. But I kind of thought, I had this feeling that it just wasn't working. And then on, what was I going to say? I read this article, somebody posted it online, and it was a news article from when Paul Maurice left the Carolina, the Hurricanes. I think he coached for them. And the things that they were saying about him way back then were exactly the same things that we see now. Like, they were talking about how he really favors the veteran players over the younger players, and how he, does the line blender thing all the time, trying to get something to happen. But that seems like all he's got is just like constantly mixing up the lines and seeing what happens. And they were saying those exact same things about him back then, and it hadn't changed. And that kind of really made me think, like, oh, if that's all he's got, like, this isn't working. And then I think it was on Thursday, like the day before this, I read an article in The Athletic. Our local athletic writer, Atis, I can't say his name, wrote this long article about Shifley, who supposedly is our franchise player. Like, we drafted him and he's been with the team the whole time. And he's no doubt a very talented player, very talented offensively. But he laid out in black and white a whole deep dive analysis into how Shifley's been playing since he has been with the Jets. And there are a lot of shortcomings, like especially defensively, but he really pointed them out. And it really made me think, like, that's what a coach is supposed to do. Like, you take a good player and make them better. And if Maurice hasn't done that for our franchise player, like that's what he needs to do. So anyway, the next day, that's what happened, is he resigned. And I honestly think it was one of those things where, resign or fire. Neither of them will say that. They won't come out and say it. But I'm happy that they gave him the chance to leave on his own terms. And a lot of the things that he said were exactly that. Like, I've done what I can do with this team. I just can't take them any further. And he's proud of what he's done. And I agree with that too. He took, he came in and made the team better, absolutely, for sure. But it just felt like he got to the point where he just couldn't make them better. So fingers crossed that things get better. But I mean, it's too soon to say. Our interim coach is one of our assistant coaches who's now stepped up to be the head coach. And interestingly, he's the father of one of our players. That's like
when you're playing minor hockey and somebody's dad is always the coach.
Right? I don't know what that's like, but it kind of makes me think, story idea. Anyway. So we'll see how he does. Whether he's gonna coach for the rest of the season. They said that, and I guess they'll look around and see who else there is, or maybe they'll keep him. I don't know, depending on how things go.
Kelly, when we played you guys, and did you watch the game? Probably, and then there was one goal that got called back, and Paul Maurice was like swearing so much. It was really funny because they had all these memes of him swearing, and then
I love
the
those
subtitle
memes.
was "Darn."
He's like,
Exactly. And so I did wonder if he saw the change in Vancouver, like with a different coach, and if he thought about that at all. Do you know what I mean? Because all those things you're saying about line blenders and that is what Travis Green had been trying to do before that. I thought, well, maybe they do need a different voice at some point. I don't know.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
the Paul Maurice memes and the gifts will be like him on the bench. Like,
I was surprised because like even we have different commentators, I guess, because our commentators are saying, like, I don't know why Maurice is so surprised. If he looks at the tape, there was clearly goaltender interference. Like, I don't know why he's so upset. So I thought, I don't know what they were saying in Winnipeg. Yeah.
I will miss him. I will. I think he's a good guy. I think he was a good coach.
Yeah.
A very intelligent coach. Like, he was really interesting to listen to. So that's the news from Winnipeg.
So the other thing we wanted to talk about, and I don't have a visual for this, but I'm sure you guys heard about the Trevor Zegras pass.
Yeah.
That insane lacrosse goal. Like it came across my Twitter feed, and like my partner is not into hockey, which is good because if he did, he would be a Penguins fan, and like that. I have a friend that's a Penguins fan, but it's just like Penguins and Flyers. It's not good. But whatever. So he'll like occasionally, he's starting to understand what like hockey answers are now. Like, even though we've been together for like a long time, I don't think he really pays attention, but like now he makes like, oh, are they going to put the puck in the net jokes? Like he makes this joke now. And I'm like, yeah, they are. But like we watched it and I was like, look at this goal. And he was like, what am I looking at? And I'm like, look at this. And we watched it like 3 times. Like it was so crazy.
Yeah. It was absolutely crazy. I saw it and I was like, yeah, lacrosse. They're playing lacrosse out there. I mean, it was just the skill to be able to do that was crazy. But what got me was the reaction to it from some like John Tortorella. Did you see that?
Yeah, like I said, like things like that I think makes hockey interesting and makes people like outside of hockey talk about it. So I think it's always a good thing. It's not like everyone's going to try to score a goal like that. It's one of those things that's going to happen in a game. And like his expression, he was like, what?
Oh, I love that expression. That was so good. And then he sits on the bench and he's just like laughing.
So excited.
Yeah.
It was so awesome to like see the interviews afterwards because he was just like so excited. Like, I can't believe I just did that. I'm like, but the best thing is like, so there are not very many players from my neck of the woods in the NHL, even though there are a lot of hockey teams in my area. Nevertheless, there are not many people from the Westchester County area in the NHL, but Zegras is one of them, as is his teammate Kevin Shattenkirk. And Milano is also, who was also in on that play, is also from the New York area. And so like it was fascinating. And like I love how the Ducks are letting these young players have personalities. Like with the picture on Star Wars Day of him carrying Baby Yoda in the carrier. I was like, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I was like, but that's the thing, like, you know, going back to like the old hockey men, i.e., you know, Tortorella and like his ilk, versus like the people who were excited, like again, like you were saying, you know, Danica and Kelly, both of you, like that this is what gets people talking about hockey. This is what gets people excited about hockey. Like, you know, these like people who are like, well, you have to do it this way. No. And like, and again, like you think about it, like people talk about Canadian innovation, which is also wonderful, but like every once in a while you have a moment like this was an American goal too. Like, not that like thing, but like, it's a really cool thing to see. Not like sort of it's innovation in a lot of ways, but also like this was a moment on multiple levels. And it's a really cool thing to see. And like, you basically see the colors of the people who are against, you know, plays like this, like exciting, happy plays like this.
Yeah. And
or players showing personality.
Exactly. Yes.
So I was listening to Puck Soup like a couple years ago, and they were talking about how like basketball, they have like a segment with like Charles Barkley when he and it's called Who He Play For. and it's just like they say a name of like a player and they have to guess like who he plays for. But they were talking about on Puck Soup, like that would never fly in the NHL. It's like you would be like, oh, if you don't know everything about this player, like you don't know what you're talking about. But I'm like, that sounds really fun and like funny. Like, but like, so doing something interesting like that would be cool. But I don't know. I feel like we're still like in our old timey ways sometimes. So
Well, but I mean, like,
Remember, oh, sorry, go ahead. I was just gonna say, like,
go ahead.
a couple of years ago when they voted in, I can't remember who the player was, like the worst hockey player in the NHL into the All-Star game, and people were so upset about it. But it was so fun. Like, I love stuff like that. If you're gonna give the power to like the people who watch, like, why not, right?
Yeah.
Plus, it made Gary Batman really upset. So, like, just bonus.
Exactly. That's the reason everybody boos him.
I mean, like, if you're in groups that read hockey romance, there's lots of women that say, oh, I started watching hockey after I read a hockey romance. Like, there's a lot of different ways to get into the sport. And if you want people to love your sport, you have to embrace different ways. It can't all be, oh, I played when I was a kid and what, blah, blah, blah.
right.
Yeah.
And I have heard that from a lot of people. And like one of my readers was saying that, like, she's a hockey mom, but she was like, yeah, there's a lot of people that like read a lot of hockey novels, but like hadn't like just never watched a game. And they're like, okay, like, how do I get into this now? And I'm like, just watch it. Like, just pick a game and watch it. Like, that's how I started. And then I reported on it. Like, then I became a reporter, and like, I had to like figure it out. So I wanted to check in. Fortune, do we have any comments?
Not that I see.
Okay.
I am watching. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm just like craning my head all the way to the other computer. Yeah, that's all good.
Okay.
It's
Stacey, did you want to talk about the holiday stuff?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want me to just share that photo?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So, back, like towards the end of last month when Hanukkah began,
Where is
Zach
it?
Hyman was invited to participate in the Edmonton menorah lighting.
Okay.
And as the way that they talk about it actually reminds me of a lot of the different, like the big, huge menorah lightings that they do here in New York, one in Central Park, one in Brooklyn, and like, so it was like the first time apparently that, like, you know, someone like they've apparently had theirs for 30 years. And it's amazing. And the thing is, like, you know, we talked last month about the Diwali jersey that the Canucks had, which is fantastic. They had this in Edmonton, but yet where are the Hanukkah jerseys, right? Like, you have players, you have Pittsburgh, New Jersey, Vancouver, and Edmonton with Jewish players and large Jewish communities, and yet none of them had like Hanukkah jerseys, like, for example, and the Rangers as well, but they're getting better. So I can actually say that they're better about recognizing non-Christian holidays and Hanukkah in particular. But like, you know, there was like, I mean, I saw like a brief 5-minute like menorah lighting, and I think the Maccabees performed at a Devils game, but like, where are the jerseys? Where's the bigger acknowledgement? But a couple of years ago, so when we were talking about things that we want to write about, one of my favorite stories that I hope to play with in the next year, wink, hope, cross fingers for me. In 2018, after the Capitals won the Stanley Cup, a small Chabad in Maryland approached the Capitals and asked them for sticks used in the Stanley Cup winning game. And the Capitals agreed to give sticks, and what they did was they created a menorah out of these sticks with the Stanley Cup winning goal. The stick that was used to score the Stanley Cup winning goal, used as the center candle, which you see in the middle of the shamash, the work candle, which is used to light the other candles. And it was amazing. And it was this beautiful like hockey stick menorah that the Capitals participate in. They were there for like the lighting. It was kind of wonderful and amazing. And if I like, to me, when I heard about this, I read about it in a Capitals blog written in an article written by a guy by the name of Jacob Boggage for the Washington Post. I was like, this. It was like, you know, like like you said, Kelly, earlier when we were talking about something that fascinated and inspired you, like with the coach and his son story idea. But I read this article. This story has been in my head since 2018, waiting to be used. And I'm hoping to be able to write about it.
Do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm crossing my fingers. I am crossing my fingers. And when there is news about this, I will say so.
Stacey, I think you have to reward our viewers with the hat, the Hanukkah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll be able to see
Yes,
it through
So
the.
yes. So I wrote a book called Miracles and Menorahs a couple of years ago, last year. It came out last year, in October of 2020. And in conjunction with that, where my heroine in that book decides to, is a huge fan of Hanukkah and all of the things attached to it. And so she owns a menorah hat. And of course, I had to get one because I couldn't help myself. And so let's see if I can.
I think you have to put it on before we can see it.
Or hold it right in front of yourself. Or get rid of your background.
That's the plan. Let's see.
Okay.
There we go. For me. Here we
There.
go. So we have the menorah hat, which I purchased and I have obsessed over for a while. I figured if we were going to do holiday tonight, even though Hanukkah is over, I figure I have to represent. Right. So I have a shirt that was designed by Sandra Velasquez a couple of years ago. It says Happy Hockey Hanukkah. And a pair of split earrings, because of course, friend of mine, these are the Peculiarity Shop Hillary Monahan, hockey player. And then on this side, we have the menorah made by laser beams, gifted to me by a friend. And of course, we have the hat, because I can't help myself.
I love it.
When do you wear that hat? Do you wear it?
I haven't worn. I actually wore it on Halloween this year. Because I was like, I am the Shamish. I am bringing light to everybody, and not necessarily the spirit of Hanukkah, because we don't do it that way, but it's like I'm the Shamish. I'm bringing Hanukkah to the world. And that was how I dressed as I went outside to like fill the candy. But I've also been wearing it a bunch of different times. I did an Instagram series called Let's Talk About Love and Latkes, attached to my newest book. And every once in a while that hat will come out. So because it's a bright hat, like Santa hats. It's that happy sort of joyous thing. Like you can't help but smile when you see them. So figure doing my part to bring Hanukkah joy to the world.
It's great. Then we're gonna have to get you that light up sweater.
It's funny because I actually have one.
I love it.
I was debating what to wear as per usual tonight.
I don't think about it.
It's a happy hockey hour.
Yeah.
Happy. And so I was like, let's just wear the hockey Hanukkah shirt. I also want to give a shout out to the Pucker Up podcast that right now on their Twitter icon has a Christmas tree made from hockey sticks, but they did have a menorah before they switched over to the Christmas tree. And because they're awesome and wonderful, they now have merch featuring that hockey stick menorah in their Redbubble store.
Nice.
Oh, hockey stick menorah. That's awesome.
Yes. So.
Okay. So I feel like we're running.
We are running out of time. Yeah.
So Mel had brought this up because I don't know if anyone has seen the Lost City trailer yet. With Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum. I forgot his name for a second. And so she was asking us, like, do you have a cover model on like any of your books or another book that you would want to go on a venture with? And I made the joke because my Christmas book, I am like obsessed with this stock model. Like I literally have a collection of of books that he's on. So like I specifically was like, this is Nolan and Avery. Like I want to use this photo. So I like gave that to my designer, and then I'm like, I want to use this photo, but I want it to like look Christmassy. Like, what can you do? And she like made this amazing cover. I love it so much. It's like she does like a lot of amazing like sci-fi fantasy, and I'm just like, here's a shirtless dude. But like she did an amazing job. So I refer to this guy as my stock model boyfriend because he's got that beard and like, yeah, I see him everywhere though. Like, so so that's my pick.
So I can't even pick one. Like any of the guys that are on any of my hockey covers, let's go on an adventure. I'm like,
Have you ever met any of your cover models, Kelly?
no, I only use stock photos. So I don't, I did meet cover models at events, but they weren't on my covers.
Oh, okay. What did they like?
They're nice guys. Someday I will have an actual model on my cover. Maybe next time. Okay, how about the rest of you?
Yeah. Anyone else?
I don't have my cover with me, but it probably would be the guy on the Snowballed cover, which is the one I did for the Moo You series. So he's half Asian.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So, yeah.
Not me. Well, Clark's definitely my favorite. I have all the covers for this entire series, but the one that's out in public view is definitely my favorite. But I was just kind of thinking about this. I was kind of thinking about have you ever seen this? There's like a video of Channing Tatum, and he wrote a book. Did I tell you guys about this already? And he wrote a book, and he was doing promo for it, except that the book, it was just the cover, it was just a sleeve, and it was upside down. And this is my problem, because I don't want to ruin the idea I have of people in my heads. I always think that they're I don't say that they're dumb or anything like that, but I was like, I just want to keep you in this bubble of how I want, I don't want to ruin that.
Well, it's hard to know, yeah, because
I understand that.
Does the reader want to put themselves in there, and so you want to leave something to the imagination?
Absolutely, because then you run across a picture of a video of Channing Tatum reading from an upside down book, and then and it just ruins the whole thing. You know what I mean?
I want to see that movie so much, though.
I do too.
Yeah,
so
I'm excited for it. I know people were romancing the stone, and I'm like, listen, I'm young, I haven't seen that, so.
You know what? I just got it from the library because I can't remember seeing it, so I thought,
I definitely. So VH1 used to have this series, and it was I love the 80s and I love the 70s, and so I know the plot because they talked about it on one of those shows, but I just never have seen it from front to back. So I'm I guess I have to watch this now, but that's fine.
I don't care if it's Romancing the Stone.
I know.
I want to see it. I like it.
That's good.
That's
I love Sandra
the point.
Romance writer has real
Totally.
adventure, action adventure. I am all for that trope, being reinterpreted and in a positive, fun way. Give me that story.
Yes.
So I did put together a best dressed, so I can share that. Let's see.
Okay.
So Stacey, you didn't really give me one, so I just dropped someone else in.
Hey, that works.
And so I was like, oh, since we're talking about Zagreus, I'm going to drop this photo of him in it.
Hey, Bedford with the amazing accessory and the joy of carrying that accessory can totally win best dressed in my book.
I just thought it was funny.
Westchester always. So.
And I had to include a dog this time.
Okay. Who is
Ivan
Oliver?
Burbov. This is Ivan Burbov. His girlfriend put this on their dog's Instagram, like I think yesterday or whatever, because he had his 400th game.
Oh,
Nice.
Fun.
Dogs.
Yeah, no, I don't know. If you guys want to talk about the other guys.
Okay, so my dude is at the top left corner.
Mhm.
And that is Jansen Harkins. Is that not a romance hero's name? Like, I so wish I could use his name, but sadly it's already taken. Jansen Harkins, like, so nice. Anyway, I thought he looked really cool. I like the tight pants.
those pants are pretty tight.
But the thing that is the best about this picture is that jacket that he's wearing is his grandfather's jacket from the 1970s.
Oh,
Right.
nice.
I like it. It's styling.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
And the hat, a lot of guys seem to be into the hats lately.
Yeah. I guess it's
Anyway.
like something they can add that's different.
Yeah.
You can see his phone.
I know.
Yeah, you can. I don't know.
Whoa, you scared me for a minute there, Mel. Okay.
So funny. I'll go next. I've got Matthew Kachuk there. And it's just kind of a little, he's in the bottom, my right, your left, maybe, with the sunglasses on. And I just wanted to be cheeky because he's one of 4 players on the Calgary Flames who are not in COVID protocol. So we have exactly enough players for a 3-on-3. We've got 2 forwards, 1 goalie, 1 defenseman.
Oh, no.
So yeah, they're not playing until the new year. That's all the news from Calgary.
Are they really sick, Fortune, or are they just
So
mild?
they're all in COVID protocol. No, they're all. So the thing is, the entire team's vaccinated, and they're all asymptomatic, but they've all tested positive, so they can't play. And if you go the other forward that's negative is Blake Coleman. If you go to his Instagram feed, it's just him and his wife playing ice, like just playing on outside ice, which is kind of fun. Yeah.
Oh,
So nobody
wow.
really sick, but still.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's really bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're the worst hit team, I think. Yeah. My photo is just OEL, Oliver Ekman Larson, being safe, following the protocol. I don't know. I was saying we don't have very many photos of the players in suits, so it's.
I know. I was saying, like, I feel like the Flyers don't do a very good job. So I was like looking for other ones too.
The Jets are doing a great job this year. Like I said, every home game, they're like tons of shots of the players arriving in their
Yeah.
beautiful
I feel
outfits.
like the Flyers have done them for like their away games, but not like everything. They shared something about the guys coming in and dropping toys into the toy drive, but like I didn't really I didn't think their like outfits were that good, so I don't want to include them.
Yeah, like the Rangers had like a moment with the players having a garden helping out the garden, the Garden of Dreams Foundation with like a couple of the guys in the Santa hats and Adam Fox being awesome without one, because
But we will try to find more. When we do this every month.
I guess we should branch out to other teams, and do other.
I know. I was like, trying to look at some other ones. I was like, who else do I follow? Because I think like the only other team I follow is the Hurricanes, and just because they're like funny.
I think the Canadians post a lot of pictures of guys in suits.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll force ourselves to do
we just played them, and their goaltender, I was like, that's not a common last name, and it's Keith Premier's son, and he used to play for the Flyers, because I was like, oh, Premier, that's like, didn't like someone on the Flyers? So I looked it up, and then they were like, then the Flyers announcer started talking about it, like who he was and everything, and I was like, oh, because they're like, oh, he's from Voorhees. And I was like, wait a minute. Like, oh, that makes sense now. But yeah, he was like he was in net when we played the Canadians this week to empty arena.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Zero fans. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well, we'll get through it.
So I think the only thing else is I kind of already talked about my book, but did anyone want to talk about upcoming books? Or I know Kelly, you have one upcoming.
I have a book that's coming out in like just over 2 weeks. So, and it's a new hockey book. Hang on, I'm going to share my screen and show you the cover. Nope. What am I doing? What happened? Oh, there we go. Sorry, y'all. I know what I'm doing.
In a minute, you'll have to act it out like charades if you can.
Yeah. So this is the Ozone, which is, it's a continuation of the Bears hockey series, but it's actually kind of a new series because it's like a little different, and it's not about the same three guys and their
Right.
history. So it's a fake relationship, forbidden love. This cute subway busker asks a hockey player to be her fake date at a party to try and get her ex off her back, and he's interested enough to accept. He really likes listening to her music in the subway when he's on his way to games. Then he gets to the party and finds out who her stepfather is, and he discovers that he has made a huge mistake.
I've heard good things, so I'm really excited.
Yeah.
I think I pre-ordered like all of them.
All right.
I was just like, okay.
Auto buy.
You guys have the best titles. I'm jealous of all of Kelly's.
Yeah, that one, I wanted to use that one. I wanted to use that one when I was published with Penguin Random House, and they wouldn't let me.
Ooh.
So I'm using it now. Okay.
So I don't know if that's my book, but I actually wanted to talk about another hockey author that I talk to I think you guys talk to her all the time too, but I just wanted to say her name on here just so other people know who she is. Jenny Redford. I know her from Woodmakers, but I know that we are all hockey Twitter people, and she loves plugging all the sports books too. So I just wanted to put her name out there if you are looking for other hockey authors.
Yay.
Yeah, I know Jenny. We talk on Twitter a lot, and I think she's in my Facebook group now too. So, we
awesome.
talk too. I love finding one of my critique partners is a hockey romance author too. So, it's like all hockey all the time for me. Okay, I think we're at time. We went a little bit over, but I think that's okay. So I don't think we determined a date for January yet.
Oh, no, we did not.
So we will let you know.
I'm thinking it would be January 24th.
Yeah, I think that
24th?
sounds great.
The 23rd is a Sunday.
So the 23rd then.
Yeah.
23rd.
Okay.
January 23rd looks like that will be the date for the next one.
So, okay.
So to everybody listening, happy holidays. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. I hope you all have a safe and happy holiday, and thank you for being here and listening to us. Yeah, good luck, hockey.
See you next year.
Yeah, next year.
Happy New Year. Wonderful holiday, no matter what you're celebrating.